Welcome to the Sleepy G Show. I'm your host, your most, and tonight's special guest is really, really cool. Anybody who's a huge fan of wrestling, like I have been growing up since, wow, early 1980s, like 85 is when I discovered wrestling. I have the original ECW ref, Jim Monlineaux. If I said it right, I'm sorry. I'm bad with
Molyneux.
Molyneux. I am not.
Close.
I'm horrible when it comes to names. I can't even say my real first name. It's that difficult sometimes. So that shows. Jim, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on. First of all, it's an honor to have somebody in the in the wrestling world that you've been in. ECW, you know, Extreme Championship Wrestling. That was huge. Uh, during the WWF, aka now WWE area, and WCW.
Right. Yeah, we were number three. We never made it to two. It was WWE was way up here and WCW was here, but we were down here, but we were there.
Now, the first thing I was is before you got into becoming a wrestling referee, were you a wrestling fan? Did you wrestle prior to being a referee, or?
No, I was a fan growing up and got away from it. I grew up in the Philadelphia area in South Jersey. So I'm probably a few years older than you. So I was distracted from wrestling for quite a while with playing the guitar, trying to get in a band, and
Okay.
trying to the teenage thing. But I also had the Flyers win the Stanley Cup for 2 years when I was a kid. So everybody down here got into hockey. We were playing street hockey and
Yep.
renting the ice rinks out at 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's
Sometimes
awesome.
just to play. So that took up a lot of time. But I didn't get back into wrestling until I was in my mid to late 20s,
Okay.
and never went to a live match
Oh, really?
until I was like 26 or 27. Let's see, it would be 27 because it was the 87 Great American Bash was the first show I ever went to
Oh, wow. WCW's Great American
yeah,
Bash.
in Philadelphia. Well, it was the
Wow.
NWA at the time. It
Oh,
wasn't even
yeah, that's true.
WCW yet.
Yeah, it was not. You're right. You're right.
And so I went to that, and that was really where I got hooked. Met up with Joel Goodhart, who ran
Hmm.
Tri-State Wrestling, but this was before he had Tri-State Wrestling. He was ring announcing, and he had a fan club. So hooked up with the fan club, became friendly, started going to all the NWA matches. And that was really how I got back into being a fan of wrestling, and finally got to the point where I'm like, I was a smart ass, wise guy kid growing up. I'll bet you I could be a good manager. So I gave that a try to start and went to Joel with the idea, and I had done a couple of indies that nobody saw or should have seen. Uh, um, and
So,
and I went to Joel with the idea, and he said, "Well, I have enough managers, but how about being a referee?" And gave me all the details of the school and training and everything,
mhm.
because I never had any kind of proper training
Right.
as a manager. So he said, think about it for a couple of days or a week or so, and give me a call back. So I called him back 10 minutes later, and said I'm in, and I'll have the money for you Tuesday at the school. And 8 weeks later, I was doing in the ring for my first match in front of people.
And now that's like a really good story because no one really knows how to become a ref. You know what I mean? Like I never learned when I was in high school. I never said, "Oh, I want to coach football," when I hurt my knee. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I had an opportunity to coach high school football, and that's
Yeah.
something I learned and I loved.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get into wrestling. I wanted to be in front of people, like you said, in high school, playing with bands,
Hmm.
or even acting. I did some acting in high school too, but I always wanted that little piece of spotlight. I didn't need to be the big star or anything. So, and going into wrestling, being fat and 5'8", maybe 5'9" on a good day, I knew there was no way I could, get in the business, especially at a time when everyone was the size of Hogan or
Yeah.
Sid Vicious or guys like that. So I found my niche, and I fit. I found I'm the square peg that found its square hole.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a
Right.
great.
Sure. I mean, if you're an actor, there's nothing wrong with being a supporting actor as long
No,
as you're working.
yeah. I mean, I remember acting in high school too, and I kind of funny. I think Hogan took that Hollywood thing off my name because in high school, one of my coaches, because I wanted to do school drama. I was in the drama club too, but also was a football player.
Right.
So during training, he's like, "Oh, look, it's Hollywood Gomez." And now I'm thinking, now I think Hogan might have stole my name when he went Hollywood Hogan. What the,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know,
we didn't have a drama club, but like I helped out with I wouldn't do the musicals. I refused to sing musical songs. But I wouldn't do the musicals. I helped out in the back,
yeah,
with the stage crew and all that. But my school was kind of a little different. I wish they still did it there. It's a shame they don't do it anymore. But the junior high and the high school were together
hmm,
in the same building, and they would take the eighth grade, ninth grade, sophomore class, and junior class, and they would do a one act play competition in the
oh,
fall.
nice.
Then also they would in the fall they would do a senior play, which was either dramatic or a comedy,
Hmm.
just not a musical, anything else but a
A
musical,
musical.
right? And my senior year, I, we I forget what we did the no the junior year was the one act play, but I know I did that and I forget what it was. But our senior play was Play It Again, Sam, the Woody Allen
Oh my
play
God. Yeah.
movie, and I played Bogart
Oh my God.
because I could pull off the Bogart voice at the time,
Voice.
and it was funny because we had a kid that one of my best friends that lived down the street. He kind of had a Woody Allen look and appeal to him. So, so the teacher who I was really good friends with, he lived like around the corner from me, and he was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing Play It Again, Sam. Do you think you can pull off Bogart?" And I was like, "Yeah, do it. Let's do it." And I said, "Who's doing the Woody Allen character?" And he said, "Al." I said, "Oh man, we got to do this."
Oh man. But that's so cool though, that what you've done, you know what I mean, so far at that point. And early in your career too, you know what I mean?
Right. And like I said, it was just finding my niche. I mean,
Hmm.
I went to California for a year and tried bands, and it just
Just didn't
didn't
pan
fit.
out.
I actually ended up doing better as a sound engineer for a band that was playing a lot of clubs.
There's nothing
um,
wrong with that.
no. And like again, I would have been happy with that. I would have found my niche to be in show business.
Right.
Um, but I came home and met my wife, got married, had kids, and that's why I got away. Another reason I got away from wrestling for so long, and just didn't have time for it. And the Hulkamania started and everything, and the guy that I worked with was into it too, and we started talking about it, and that was the beginning of going to shows.
That's one thing I do remember. I like, for me, growing up was Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Jimmy Snuka, all those guys. I remember watching those guys in the 80s, and then I lost track of wrestling for a little while. Then I remember watching a Monday night with my dad, and my dad was watching Monday Night Raw. Well, it was a Monday Night Raw back in the early 90s. I forgot what the heck it was called. It was Monday Night Wrestling or something on the channel. And I'm like, oh wow, it's wrestling. And it's like a small venue in New York City, you know.
Right,
And I remember watching and I'm like, oh my God, I got hooked again. And then like a year or two later, the Attitude Era began with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple
right,
H. And that's when I was just like, okay, I'm back. I'm hooked. I'm like,
right,
I'm hooked with the fighting. Uh The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H and Chris Jericho were like four out of four wrestlers I enjoyed watching just because of their presence, their persona.
right,
I loved the Stone Cold with the fuck you attitude is the best way I
right,
could say it. And I love Triple H because he was just that cocky son of a gun. The Rock, just his charisma. And Chris Jericho, just because he's just one of those characters. I just love the way they made him.
right. Yeah, and I was, a handful of years before when I got back into it, and it was the NWA that got me back into it because I had never seen it before, and now it was on cable. Now it was on a cable channel,
Yep.
in the
TBS.
area, right? So I was in Midnight Express, loved the Midnight
Yeah.
Express and Jim Cornette, and their matches against the Fantastics and against the Rock and Roll Express.
Yes.
You know, the I think I was attracted to the realism
Hmm.
of the NWA, and that kind of that attracted me as a fan, and then it also attracted me as a performer to get involved because I love the realism of it,
Hmm.
and that's what I kind of emphasize as a referee. I tell ref students all the time, treat it like it's real, treat it, and it will relay to the fans, and it'll give the fans help give the fans a moment, for the time that match happens or the event that they're at happens, to have a time to get away
Right.
and believe that everything is real. I mean, a lot of times it really is when you're as close as we are, referees are.
Oh yeah. I mean, the closest I ever been to independent, I actually got right by the ring. Independent wrestling, I was right by the ring not too long ago in Rutherford. I went to go see a buddy of mine, Gunner Trash, defend his title. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him since we were kids. So to see him in independent wrestling as a champion, I'm like, dude, I'm so thrilled for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And and actually, it was kind of funny. I saw Gangrel there to wrestle again. And I'm like, I haven't seen him wrestling since he stopped wrestling at WWE. I didn't even know he was doing independent shows.
Yeah, yeah. I worked with him a few years ago, and I was like, wow, he still has it.
Yeah, he still does. I mean, even though you could tell the wheels are creaking, but he's still a showmanship. He still has that
Sure.
showmanship, and hearing his theme song, I'm like, oh my god! It just the hairs in the back of my neck stood up because I remember watching him when he started off in WWE too.
Right.
And but the thing is, you were doing the independent refereeing for a while. How did you get connected to ECW?
Well, the only thing that I did before ECW was Tri-State Wrestling,
Okay.
back to Joel Goodhart. And when he shut down, he one of his financial backers was Todd Gordon.
Oh.
So when Tri-State shut down, Todd and a few others got together and we're like, okay, said, okay, hold on, don't panic. We're going to try to come up with something. And him and Bob Ortiz and Larry Winters, who was the booker of TWA,
Mhm.
sat down and came up with the idea of Eastern Championship Wrestling,
Okay.
and we started doing, again, just the bar show, which we had always done with Tri-State
Mhm.
in Philadelphia at 8th and Market, and the rec centers and high schools, and the typical independent company stuff. And then we found our way to TV, local TV,
Mhm.
and then that got syndicated, and just it progressed from there with it getting to the point where Todd couldn't maintain it financially.
All right.
So Paul was working with us. We're working for. He was working for Todd,
Mhm.
and he came up with the financing to take over and shot off from there to Eastern, or from Eastern to Extreme, because we were expanding so much.
Right.
We were getting ready to get syndicated to Florida and run shows in Florida and out to beyond Pittsburgh, and because otherwise we were doing Boston and Pittsburgh and
Mhm.
just around the Philadelphia area, into New York a little bit.
Mm.
And so as we were expanding, they had to say, well, they said, well, we can't be just Eastern anymore. And Extreme was a buzzword at the time.
Right.
So we became Extreme we kept the ECW, just changed Eastern to Extreme.
And let me tell you, I've seen some extreme matches from ECW. I mean, from Paul Heyman's head to what he's
Yeah.
done to that.
Oh yeah. And
I
even
mean,
before we were Extreme, we were very, very Memphis wrestling oriented. So
mhm.
there was some, like, you know, ladder matches and scaffold
Oh yeah.
matches and cage match, all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of extreme for the time. So we were already kind of in that zone. So
Right.
why not?
I feel like you guys were the originators of the table matches and the extreme matches, because I remember when WWE introduced the tables, ladders, chair match with the Hardy Boys.
Right.
And you were like, holy Christ. But then you heard about this show ECW. Like, I remember the buzz about ECW when, when they did that the tables, ladder chairs match with the Hardy Boys. And I'm
Right.
like, I want to check what ECW is about, because I heard nothing but crazy stuff about it. And then I'm looking at some of these wrestlers, RVD, Rhino, some of these big names that were there too. Even Al Snow, I think, was part of ECW for a little
Yeah.
time. And I think Mick Foley was there for a while as Cactus Jack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
We had Foley as Cactus Jack. We had like you said, Rob Van Dam. We had Jerry Lynn, Lance Storm,
yeah.
Ryan, like you said, Rhino. Of course, we had Sabu.
So, yeah, Taz
Even
is the other.
when we were Eastern, we had Jimmy Snuka, we had Don Morocco.
Yeah.
So there were always guys coming through or even sticking around for quite a while.
I feel like ECW was like the AA baseball wrestling, because then when WCW came out, it's like, damn it, we just got kicked down one notch.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then everyone's going between the WWE, WCW, but everyone starts a career at ECW, it felt like. Like, you saw some of the big name headliners, in WWE and WCW. But I have to ask, do you remember your very first match at ECW and who it was against?
Wow. I think the first match I did for ECW, I might be wrong. I know I think the first TV match I did was Glenn Osborne against Jimmy Snuka.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember the first match because
Close enough
kind
for
of
television booking.
yeah. I mean, I can remember the very first match I did with Tri-State Wrestling, which was Jimmy Jannetty against Glenn Osborne at the Westchester Rec Center in Westchester, PA.
Okay.
And for ECW, kind of blends together. To me, there's really no split. There's no divide between TWA and ECW, because it really was. We were the same people,
right?
Except for management, we were the same guys, and management was there with Tri-State in a way too. So we were all still the same family at the time.
And that's something cool, because it's funny. I've seen. I think one of the best reality movies was the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. As an independent wrestler, you know what I mean, and seeing some of these guys, and it's kind of funny, you know what I mean. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, wrestling is fake," but when you get into the hardcore matches with staple guns, barbed wire bats, I mean, you've seen it. I mean, you've seen it firsthand.
Oh yeah.
I mean, let me ask you this: what was the craziest match you've seen as a referee? Like, the one that just stood out the most?
There was a cage match with the Gangsters.
Okay.
And maybe it was the Gangsters and Cronus against the Dudleys and Mustafa.
Holy shit.
That was kind of crazy. I mean, there was compared to what the death matches do today.
Oh yeah.
ECW's nothing
nothing compared
to what they're doing today. And I when I'm asked to do shows, I won't do death matches. It's beyond reality for me.
Right.
I still like that sense of reality. I mean, how can you not get hurt from hit with the head with the light tubes and everything? Plus the possible danger for the fans between the gas and the glass flying all over the place. But it's just not my cup of tea. And it's funny because people will go, "Well, you were in ECW and they use staple guns and ladders and all kinds of stuff."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but I felt like we were more controlled.
Yeah, I think it was more controlled, but it was still like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, holy Christ. You don't see it in WCW, WWE until, like I said, they started getting like the Hardy Boys, Christian and Edge.
Right.
Dudley's came up, you know what I mean? And that's what I remember, you know what I mean? That's why I said ECW was just in a league of their own. That's the way I looked at it. I always thought, when it came to wrestling, yes, WWE was number one. I thought ECW was always number two. WCW, I never got interested, even though a lot of the WWF guys went to WCW, like Bret the Hitman Hart, Hogan left, Kevin Nash, Razor Ramon at that time, a lot of the guys.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. And then, I mean, don't get me wrong, McMahon figured out his way and made WWE the way it is now, multi-billion-dollar company.
Right.
And I mean, he's in trouble, but that's okay. Uh, his wife and son-in-law are taking over the reins, and I think they're doing a great job. Now they're leaving USA Channel to go to Netflix.
Right.
I'm kind of curious to see how that goes because now it's no holds barred, everything goes. Cursing, sure. So it'll be interesting to see what a live Netflix version of WWE is going to be like.
But I'm also interested in seeing how it's going to work technically, because I don't know what anyone else's cable and streaming situation is, but I'd have to go from my cable control, which on a Monday night, if there might be a football game on that I want to watch.
Oh yeah,
so I'm on ABC or whoever's carrying the game, but then I have to go back to my TV remote, not my cable remote, my TV remote that Netflix is on, and punch that, and then I have to punch into Netflix, and then I have to scroll through Netflix to find Monday Night Raw. I may just and
it's kind of funny because they have a deal with Peacock TV too, because a lot of the old matches are on there too. So it's I'm kind of curious to see how that goes between Peacock and Netflix, because I feel like Peacock's got all the rights to all the wrestling shows that WWE is doing. So it's kind of weird.
I don't know how that's all lawyers and all that kind of stuff that I don't figure out.
But above my pay grade.
The boys keep getting paid, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's above my pay grade. But like you said, as long as the guys are getting paid and they're happy and they're living their life. Let me ask you, did you ever get a call to go to WCW or WWE for as a ref up in those?
No, just the call to do the makeshift ECW that WWE tried to restart. But that was the only call I ever got. I never looked for going to the companies. I was happy where I was with ECW, and I didn't, I drank the Kool-Aid. I didn't see a problem down the road.
No, definitely not.
I mean, so I never reached out to anyone. I probably could have. I don't know if I would have liked it.
Okay,
it was definitely a lot different than what I was used to.
Right. The lifestyle's a lot different. I could tell. I know that for just seeing some of these wrestlers, what they are now, what they were with WWE, and then once they leave, you can see what they're doing. Half of them, what they're doing now.
Right.
I mean,
I don't know if I would have, if I had gone to WWE and been on the road 7 days a week for 3 weeks at a time or whatever. I don't know if I still would have been married.
Probably not. I mean, I it was kind of funny. I was watching, I remember if it was on TV or something, was with Lita and Edge. And Lita was married to one of the Hardy Boys, or was dating one of the Hardy Boys at that time. Yeah. And then Edge and her hooked up because they were on the road for 5 months out of the 10 months straight that they were working, and things happen. It's
I would have just caught hell for not being home for 3 weeks.
Oh no, I trust me, my wife's the same way. I probably would have caught hell big time too. You know what I mean?
Right.
As for me, as being an indie podcaster, this is like my dream doing this. This is
right.
I got the itch, like you said, in high school. My teacher had an idea to do a in-house TV station / radio station. And I fell in love with the radio station and the TV too. Don't get me wrong, but I just fell in love with it. And then someone told me I was never going to accomplish my dream. I said, okay, I gave it up. I got hurt during football years. I became a coach for a few years, which I loved doing at my alma mater, high school. And then I just went into business, and then I worked for major companies. And then now I work for a smaller company. And then I'm doing this as my fun gig, but hopefully to be up in that status one day. You know what I mean? Going against some of the bigger name podcasters. But hey, as an indie podcaster, I'm thrilled because
Yeah.
I get to meet guys like you.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And it's funny. I remember I was in another show for a year and a half and loved it. The problem is me and my partner, we have kids. His
Yeah.
were older, mine were younger. So mine can go to bed at 8 o'clock, but he had to spend time with their kids at 8 o'clock. So it didn't
Sure.
work out. So I decided to make this show. I'm in a year and a half and I don't regret it. I love it. I miss my partner. Don't get me wrong. I miss doing some stuff, wacky stuff we used to do, you know what I mean, together. But to be independent, to do conversations like this, it's something that it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for me. And I gotta grab all these opportunities when they're handed to me.
Absolutely.
I mean, what's kind of funny, I met Lawrence, the company Dog, and we were, I'm part of a radio syndicate in New Jersey called RadioGardenState.com. And he just came up and we're like, hey, what's going on? Kind of just talking, between the host of the Garden State show that he was doing. And I was just there just chatting with the guys and we just connected pretty quickly, you know what I mean? And
Right.
and it's kind of cool. And he's like, hey, do we're I know you're from North Jersey and we're from South, but do you do any show? I go, listen, I'll promote anybody or talk to anybody. I'm not gonna say no.
Right. It's all Jersey.
Yeah, it's all Jersey to me. There's no North or South. I mean, we just have different ways of saying Taylor ham.
Right.
Everyone says pork roll, and I say
crossover 95, and you're 195, and you're still in New Jersey.
you're still in Jersey. And and I haven't met Lawrence yet, but I gotta admit, I love what he's doing too because he's got some great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I've seen some of his YouTube stuff, some of his Instagram stuff, and to see Dog Unleashed go so well for him, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's an amazing thing. Now, how do you and him got connected together?
I was working with the Monster Factory,
Okay.
helping train guys. This was post ECW,
Mm-hmm.
and he was still in high school
Oh
and was
wow.
doing something at his high school for wrestling and like an interview, like a show. So I went and did an interview, and that was where we met. And down the road, when he started Dog, said, "Hey, we kept in contact. Can you come in?" And I want to say I refed for a little while. I can't remember
Okay.
because I wasn't doing a lot of refing. After ECW, I kind of stopped.
Mm.
But I had at one point. I had a ring, so I rented the ring to him. We had our sound system, so did that. And after I got rid of all that, he was like, "Hey, how'd you like to be part of the matchmaking committee?" I was like, "Okay, sounds interesting. I've never really done that before." I kind of did that with old time wrestling when I was behind the scenes there. So that was really kind of how we got together, and I've been doing that for 4 years now, I guess.
Okay.
Started before the pandemic and made
Mm-hmm.
our way. Of course, they're shut down,
Oh
but and
yeah,
then
that's the hardest part.
now back up and running and more traveling with Dog than they did before. They had a home base that's not there anymore.
A whole mess of
As,
things.
as they say, things happen in wrestling, but yeah, the building shut down from what it was a rec center, and it's not a rec center anymore.
Oh wow.
And it was a shame because that was a really, really nice place, getting good crowds. So now it's finding places, and we've got a couple coming up there, or hopefully will kind of open the doors for us to be on at them at a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Where now I know he mentioned two shows coming up. Can you elaborate on those two shows a little bit?
Sure. Let me excuse me for not looking at the camera.
That's okay.
Notes here.
That's all right. I do the same thing with my phone, so I say excuse me too. So no worries.
September the 28th in Riverton, New Jersey, which is in Burlington County.
Okay.
For Jersey people, at Sacred Heart Church. As like I said, September 28th. The bell time is, I believe, 7 o'clock. Okay. Might be 8. I might be wrong. And full of matches. We're bringing in Pedro Pablo, who is a Chilean wrestler.
Nice.
He's moving to the U.S. I don't know if we're his first American match,
Okay.
but we're in the top group. But also, there's been a bit of a thorn in my side. Dave Dahl and his partner Dylan Mesh are the tag team champions, and they have this obnoxious flag bearer. And I call him Flag Boy, Flag Boy Connor. And it's about time put down the flag and got in the ring and wrestled. So I've seen that the kid's got talent, even though he's a pain in the backside. I know he's got talent. And in training guys, I've known that the only way you get better is to wrestle talent better than you. So I don't know whether he signed it or whether someone else signed it for him, but I've accepted 2 contracts. So the first one for September 28th was an open contract, and I had another wrestler sign it. And like I said, someone who is better than him, to get him to become a better wrestler. So Tank Tolan is going to wrestle Connor the Flag Boy. If you don't know Tank, he was in Ring of Honor for a long time, but before that, he was in Ohio Valley when Jim Cornette was running Ohio Valley, and he was also part of SmackDown
for a little bit.
Yeah. So
I remember the name.
It's gonna push him a little bit, push Connor a little bit.
Sometimes you need a little shove, you know.
Sure. I mean, the heavyweight championship, or the DAWG heavyweight championship, is champion is Breaker Morant.
Okay.
And he'll be taking on Eric Martin. If you don't know who Eric Martin is, I kind of always compare him to Richard Holiday.
All right.
Who's a really, really good comparison. The WWGP title will be on the line also, as Goldie is our champion. He'll be taking on a guy by the name of Pat Sawyer that I discovered up in New York working at another company. And I said, I got to bring this kid in because he reminds me of a young Damian Priest who I was involved with when he first started.
Okay.
So I was like, you have to bring this kid in and see what he can do. The tag, Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh, the tags will be on the line also. Like I said, Pedro Pablo will be in, and he's taking on Marvelous. If you don't know Marvelous, he's kind of like for people who want to compare wrestlers to wrestlers that you know, he's kind of like a Ricochet.
Okay.
So that's going to be an interesting match.
That would be an interesting match, actually. I would agree with that.
And then the world's sexiest tag team will be taking on the Old School Empire, former tag team champions.
Ooh, they're trying to get their titles back.
Well, they have to earn their way back. Because Dahl and Mesh have them right now. But speaking of that, the next show, next event. Sorry, I get yelled at for calling them shows.
Next event.
The next event is October the 18th, and that's in Pennsville, New Jersey. For those who don't know Pennsville, it's in Salem County, New Jersey, just before you cross into Delaware, before you go over the Delaware Memorial Bridge. I always say, if you don't know what it is, it's well known for being the home of the hometown of Bruce Willis.
Yes. Yes, that is well known and well documented because I'm a Bruce Willis fan.
Everybody, you think of Jersey and everybody says, Frank Sinatra or Bruce Springsteen. Well, that's all north. That's
North Jersey, exactly.
There's going to be a battle between north and south. I get to claim Bruce Willis.
No, you do, because Bruce Willis is an icon.
Yes. Somebody asked me one time if they did a movie about ECW, who would you want to play you? And I said Bruce Willis.
I actually could see it though. You know what I mean?
It might be better than some of the casting in the Iron Claw.
Oh yeah, and Ready to Rumble. I mean, the best casting in a wrestling movie, I was gonna say, is The Wrestler. That was probably the most iconic true movie.
Yeah, you have to check out. I'll tell you, check out Body Slam, the movie.
Oh yes, that's yes. The rock and roll. I remember that movie. That was one of the reasons I fell in love with wrestling, is because of that movie with Captain Lou Albano.
where he was Captain Lou Morano.
No, yes, it was because he
It's
could have used
great.
Albano. That was such a great movie, and the guy Face who played, he was an A Team. I don't remember his movie name, but I remember his face at A Team. He's one of the
Right.
managers.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, that's a great movie. It was kind of
Piper
funny.
was in it.
Piper was in it.
The
Oh God,
Barbarian, Tijo Khan, not Tijo Khan. I can't think of his name. Anyway,
there was just a bunch of good wrestlers.
yeah,
in
they
there.
had a lot of, they filled him in there on that one. But
Mr.
yeah,
Fuji, I think, was in that movie too, if I remember
I
correctly.
don't know, the Samoans were in it.
The Samoans were in it, but I think Mr. Fuji, or it could have been a replica of Mr. Fuji, because he had, there was two characters that looked like, I always assumed it was Mr. Fuji, but it could have been his twin brother.
It's
Been
probably
so many years watching
30 years since I've seen it.
Yeah, same here. That was just a classic movie. I do remember that one.
But anyway, back to October 18th,
yes.
Pennsville, New Jersey, at the Pennsville Middle School. That is again, Break Morant, if he's the champion at that time, if he doesn't lose his championship to Eric Martin, if he wins, it'll be Eric Martin taking on Spencer Slade from the NWA.
Okay.
If you guys get to catch an NWA show, mention the tag team titles. Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh, if they're still the champions, they will be taking on the Old School Empire, who are looking to get their titles back. Again, the WWGP title, Goldie, if he's still the champion, will be taking on Chris Steeler. That'll be a really nice match if you know who Chris Steeler is.
Sounds familiar, actually, the name.
And Connor the Flag Boy gets another chance, given another contract. So I managed to find someone who will help elevate his career. Might even flatten his career, but who will elevate his career too, is Follow Bob.
Okay. So there's two big names for Flag Boy. Connor the Flag Boy. That's a name you'll never forget. Connor the Flag Boy. And again, he's a thorn in your side, like you said before, but for good reasons. You're making him better.
That's right. At least that's what I'm trying to do. If he doesn't see it that way, too bad.
I mean, it's an opportunity of a lifetime to get signed to 2 contracts, and you're going against, especially a WWE guy,
right?
Who's been in I call it the show. You know what I mean? I know it's not the right name, but
right.
But when you're looking at that time of what it was over there, and it is with the events that people are having these days, I think it's 2 different genres. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I always say, you make it to the show as you make it to the WWE. At one point, like I said, I always seen ECW as number 2 below and WCW was number 3 to me. So that's the way I looked at it, because some of the biggest wrestlers came out of ECW.
Right.
And that's the thing I respected. I mean, Paul Heyman was a smart businessman.
Absolutely. I would say businessman,
but he knew how to,
because there were a lot of business things that
he didn't know.
But as far as the wrestling business, yes.
Yeah, that's why mostly wrestling business. He was very tone. I mean, I look at him now. I mean, he's part of WWE after so many years now, and
right.
He now is one of the head guys there. So I mean,
sure.
if you think about it, where he came from until now, where he's at, is unbelievable.
He's the prime example of the phrase Teflon Don.
Yeah,
he seemed to have found his way through every little nook and cranny
he snaked his way in. Yeah, he snaked his way in is the best way I could say it. It's funny. I didn't like him when he came to the WWE. I was like, I liked you when you were ECW. Put your hat back in your little crappy ponytail. Go back to ECW, please. But then, McMahon took over the wrestling world pretty much.
Sure.
He bought out WCW, or his son did for the storyline. His son did, but we know who really did. And then he bought out ECW. I mean, for me, I understand you want to have just one wrestling company god, you know what I mean? But I think when you look at the times, going up in the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, I think you needed ECW to start somewhere. Don't get me wrong, some of these independent places are amazing too.
Right.
I'm not saying that they're not good, but when you're trying to elevate that next step, I thought ECW was always that perfect step.
Yeah, there has to be a step between the top and the bottom, at least one step. You
Right.
know, you can't just go from down here to up here.
Yeah.
You gotta find your way there.
I mean, find your
And
talent and find your niche, like you said. Like for me, this is my niche, talking.
right.
Because probably my wife told me I talk too much, and this probably works out the best for me. So, but it's one of those things. When you look, it was kind of funny. I was watching a story of John Cena. If you think about 20 some odd years ago or 25 years ago, Cena was almost about to get fired
Yeah.
from the WWE, and he did that stupid rap that kept him alive. I mean, and then
Yeah.
you look at him now, he's probably one of the most respected WWE superstars,
Right.
besides Triple H, The Undertaker, Ric Flair, the Golden Boy, all these big names.
Right.
Um, I mean, you've been through, a ton of stuff. Have you ever got to meet any of those superstars at all on your road?
Oh, sure. I mean, Stone Cold came through ECW
Oh
for a cup
yeah,
of coffee.
Stunning
So we
Steve.
Yeah, so we had him for. I've known Mick Foley for a long time. I knew him even before ECW. Go, but if you can find it, I think you can find them online.
Yeah,
Tri-State Wrestling. I mean,
you still can.
had an incredible feud with Eddie Gilbert, who I loved working with. Eddie Gilbert is an amazing mind for the business. I mean, they in one night they did 3 matches. It wasn't best 2 out of 3 falls. It was best 2 out of 3 matches, and each one had a stipulation to it. It
Oh
was
wow.
falls count anywhere, a stretcher match, and a cage match, all in one night.
Yeah, that
There if you and I'm sure you can find it on YouTube that there was a whole video back in the videotape trading days, a video of the feud between Cactus Jack and Eddie Gilbert. And not only was just in tri-state, but they worked for other companies. I think they did it down in Memphis too.
Yeah, I remember seeing Mick Foley, Cactus Jack's character, for the first time, and that scared the living crap out of me. I thought he was so demented and so
Yeah,
psycho, but he played the role. I mean, this guy was from New York too. I think he was from Long Island for when he first started.
originally from Long Island. Yeah,
Island, yeah.
he trained out in Pittsburgh
Yes.
with Dominic DeNucci, and Shane Douglas was there at the time. So I think that's kind of the ECW link there.
Right.
But I forget where I was going to go here. But also with Cactus back in the day, we worked with Terry Funk
Very
and
well, Terry
Jerry
Funk.
Lawler, and in the independents I worked with Lawler and Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
I got to work with Dr. Steve Williams and Terry Gordy. I was like, oh my God, these are two of my heroes, not from growing up, but
Right.
from watching. It's a shame, but there was a match that was scheduled, a show or an event that was scheduled for Tri-State, and they shut down before it happened. And the main event was supposed to be the Battle of the Nature Boys. Buddy Rogers, who was 72 at the time, and I knew Buddy. Buddy was one of my mentors when I first started. So Buddy against Buddy Landell, the Nature Boy Buddy Landell, would have been a great, fun match.
Oh, well,
But the match I wanted to work on that show was a tag match from All Japan that has only happened in Japan, never happened in the U.S., and it would have been the only place it happened if it did. Was Williams and Gordy against Furness and LaFon. And
just hearing these names again is just
I mean, I'm big on All Japan tag team stuff, and I'm sure I have that match somewhere. And I got to work with Phil LaFon too. With LaFon and Furness. I was very good friends with Doug. We traveled together when he was in the Cup of T was at ECW, and I loved working with him. He was great to hang out with.
That's
so yeah,
cool.
I've had my share of names that have gone on to do bigger and better things.
But still, to know that you knew them and were friends with them and talked to them, even though when they went away, they went to the bigger and better things, like you said,
right.
they were still human beings.
Right, and even when they were bigger names and came to ECW and helped develop us in different time. I mean, like I said, being a fan in the 80s of the NWA, I was like, oh my God, I'm in the ring with Dusty Rhodes, for God's
Yeah.
sakes. You know,
I mean, for
my dad was like that. My dad was a big fan, and I'll never forget. My parents came to see us in Kansas City because they were living in Missouri at the time, and Dusty just came over and started talking to my dad, and I was like, man, this has got to be the greatest moment in my dad's life. That, you know, Dusty's talking to him. Dusty wasn't talking to him about wrestling or anything. He's talking about, you know,
life.
kids and grandkids and you know, where are you from, what do you do, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, my dad was a house painter, so that's the kind of person that he affected. He was
Right.
you know, the normal hardworking, you know, guy looking for the American dream.
I gotta say, I'm jealous of your dad too. But I mean, but you know what? I mean, your dad brought you up the right way though. Follow your dream. That's been like my whole
Yeah,
motto too. Like, I posted a picture today on Instagram, you know what I mean? Just because it was just a still shot, me looking like I'm super focused, but I am actually because I'm at work, but I'm also thinking not just work, but also about my show. You know, like tonight's interview, like mentally get ready, you know,
right.
what questions you're going to shoot from the hip because I don't write down questions. I shoot from the hip because I like the flow. As you can see,
Right.
you know how great the flow has been, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, we've gone off track a few times, and
times,
then
but
but it's entertaining.
it's the
At least I
entertainment
hope it
part.
is.
Well, for me, it is. I mean, a lot of you'd be surprised how many people are going to find this so entertaining. I can't wait to get it out to people. And that's one thing I love to do. And I mean, you have such a rich history, Jim, and I respect what you did. Grew up, you did everything. You became a ref. You ref some incredible matches. By the
Yeah,
way, I do love the shirt. I do see the shirt Refomania.
I do have a line of parody shirts at tpublic.com.
I will have to
So
order myself one.
so if you go to tpublic, you can go there and in their search, put in Extreme Referee. That's my storefront.
Okay.
I have this. I have EC Ref and W.
Yes, I saw that shirt too. Actually,
Referee 123 instead of Austin 316.
16. I love it.
Acknowledge your referee,
Nice.
where instead of the bamboo,
Yep.
it's got a kendo stick with barbed wire wrapped around it.
Nice. I love
Um,
it. I love it.
the referee club instead of the bullet club.
Right.
Trying to think, is there anything else? 5-star referee.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. You
yeah,
got some good stuff. You got some good
it's
stuff. Let's just say
it's
that.
just parody stuff, and it's fun, and it's all a bunch of haha. But you can do shirts and hats and
Yep. Oh,
stickers, you know,
I'm gonna have
coffee
to get on
mugs,
that.
whatever you're interested in.
I'm gonna have to get on that soon because I definitely like that Refomania shirt. I gotta get myself one.
I've got one. I had one made in everything black and white except
Yeah.
for this, and I did one in tie dye, and I got a nasty message from Bubba Ray Dudley, gimmick infringement.
I'm surprised you didn't get one from Hulk just because of the color infringement.
Hey, if Hulk can see it, good for you. I mean, Hulk's watching your show.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tag him just to see if he responds. I'll be great. But oh, Jim, man, you took me back to memory lane a lot, and I gotta tell you, man, hearing your stuff, your stories is truly amazing, man. And I gotta take the time out to thank you so much.
No, no problem. I
Come,
loved coming on.
I appreciate you coming on here.
I love the business and I love talking about it.
And you know what? Anytime you want, Jim, you're always welcome to come on the show. You know what I mean? Definitely got to keep an eye on those two big events, guys. September 28th and October
18th.
18th. Thank you. I have it written down, but I closed my planner. Check out Jim. He'll be at those events, and let's support Flag Boy, Connor, the Flag Boy there. Let's support him a little bit.
Yeah, let's see if he can elevate himself.
Yeah, let's see if we could get him going.
But since this is tied in with the Garden State network, is it right? Is that right?
Yeah, RadioGardenState.com.
Radio
yes.
Garden State. I've got some other Jersey appearances.
Okay, I was just about to say if you have any more appearances, let's talk before we can sign off.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff in the area, so ISPW. I
Hmm.
will be in North Jersey in Totowa, New Jersey on September the 20th. I know that's at the Totowa Powell building.
Okay.
Just to mention the 21st, I will be like right across the river in Palmer, PA. It's near Allentown,
Hmm.
and that's for the Lehigh Valley Toy and Comic and Game Con. I'll be
Oh,
there
nice.
doing autographs all day. That'll be fun. Then, like we mentioned, the 28th for Dog. Then Ace, which is Assault Championship Wrestling, which is run by Jason Knight, who we know from ECW. He
Hmm.
was everyone remembers him as the manager for Just Incredible. Will be there October the 12th in Williamstown, New Jersey, at the community center there. And we mentioned Dog the 18th in Pennsville, and back for ISPW along the Jersey shoreline down in Northfield, which is near, I guess, like Sea Isle
Sea Isle, I think.
and all in through that area, but on the mainland side. So there are plenty of places you can check me out, and I have a bunch of my merchandise with me, stickers, pictures, trading cards. I do have some EC Ref and W shirts with me that I'll have with
Nice.
me. But otherwise, you can get those at tpublic.com.
Awesome. Wow, Jim. So I definitely I plan to be I'm gonna try to plan to be there on the 20th in Totowa.
Cool.
I definitely would love to meet up with you and grab a picture with you, of course. Just because that'll be cool for me, you know what I mean? Just to say I got a local legend right here next to me. You know what I mean? For me, legendary wrestling career as a ref. You've seen it, you've done it, and you keep working hard on it, as helping Dog Production, Dog Unleash, and everybody that you're trying to help out to get better too. So I got to give you a lot of props, man. It's not
Yeah,
easy work.
there was a long time that I took off and helped guys with their training, and it was there at the beginning for guys like Damian Priest and Sheamus, and helped a bunch of other guys get to various goal levels, whether it was doing that or AEW or TNA
Hmm.
or just making a name for themselves on the independent circuits. If they're
Yeah,
happy, great. I'm glad I helped them.
and that's what's cool, man. And my big thing is follow your dreams, and you did,
Yeah,
and you are truly a man of respect. I love it so much. You know what I mean? And I got again, thank you for coming on tonight. Guys, you heard all the dates. I'll be popping them on my show, reminding everybody September 20th. If anybody's local in Totowa like I am, we got to go there and support them. Definitely come out, check out the dates, and also Doug Unleashed. Check out the September 28th and October 18th dates. Those are going to be some big names there too. And guys, like I always end my show, it's nothing but love, peace, and happiness. Good night, everybody.